And we're live. Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good evening in the Central. And good evening on the East Coast. I am Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Friends of ADOS TV channel, making the case for reparations some more and serving up those ADOS hot topics. And guess who I was fortunate enough to find on the campaign trail for Tom Steyer? Hey, America Reagan, thank you for being on the live. None other than the fabulous, incomparable, the beautiful Dawn Page family. We all know and love her. She is a supporter and self appointed advisor to the Tom Steyer African American Outreach Team. And we are so fortunate to have her on the show, hot off the press, spilling all the tea to help us make an informed decision. Hi, Andrew. Thank you for joining the live. To make an informed decision about what to do this primary season. I am super excited. I've got to go MC a fundraiser for the incomparable Tara Perry at 7 o'clock. She needs me there at 6:30. She's running for City Council District 8, so please support her. So I'm not going to delay my intro. I'm going to she's on the phone, can't bring her in live, but she is here to talk about Tom Steyer's African American plan, because we've got questions, right, family? I read through it, and I was hotter than fish grease to see that it felt kind of skeletal to me, right? But she is here to get us all the way together because she is on the front lines working hard to make reparations and a Black agenda a priority with the Steyer campaign. So without further ado, let us welcome, family, warmly welcome, put your questions and comments in the chat, Dawn Page. Thank you so much, Dawn, for being on the live.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
So let's just jump right in. Okay, so I was reading through the Tom Steyer African American plan, and I got a little salty because I was thinking to myself, here we have Marianne Williamson, who had a $500 billion negotiable number, and she's been speaking full-chested about reparations since the 90s when she wrote a book, Healing the Heart of America. And yet I kept trying to get people to support, and they wouldn't because she didn't have the number. So Tom Steyer comes out. Hi, Lorene. Thank you for joining the live. Lorene Pryor Trowell says, hi, Don. Hi, Dawn Page.
Hi.
Thank you for joining the live. But yes, so I started reading through the African American plan, and it appears to me that Steyer was interested in studying our reparations, didn't have any numbers, didn't have anything concrete in there. And it felt to me a lot like HR 40. So could you please explain to me why, if we did not choose to support Marianne, why should we support a study of reparations instead of a candidate that's speaking full-chested about our reparations with some meat on the bones beyond a study?
Well, the thing I guess I want to point out is, let's remember what happened when Marianne Williamson did put that $500 billion number out there. It was definitely met with a lot of pushback. I support Tom Steyer for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, since I am a reparations activist, I support him because he's not only pro-reparations, but he is pro-cash reparations, which he has said specifically. And just to back up and let me explain, my affiliation, after Jamian Fowler, our reporter out there on the street, did a video with Tom Steyer, and I saw that, and he was very, of course, open to it. And I said, that's probably somebody that we should get in touch with. So through a series of events, they were coming to North Carolina. So made a plan to go see him, and actually invited Dr. Darity to come with the idea of, oh, this is our next Marianne Williamson, because, you know, she had dropped out, or it was obvious she wasn't going to budge off of that number. So that was the impetus for getting together with him. And so we went, he and Dr. Darity met each other, exchanged some information. And so that was all well and good. You probably saw the clip where we walked out, and he just impulsively asked me to hop in the car with him. And we actually drove in Durham, drove over to this project area where the residents had been displaced because of CO2 leak, gas leaks. And so it's a big issue here, and environmental justice is one of his major platform planks. So it was that interaction, and then I just wanted to check him out further, because as ADOS, you know, I feel like we have to keep that ball moving, and it just seemed like with Marianne kind of whimpering out and HR 40 revealing itself to be more or less, in my opinion, just a ploy, a pander, a more sophisticated one, but that nonetheless. And so that was the reason for hooking up with him. And then I met Jeremiah Chapman, which is the head of his social media program. And through that interaction, you know, I was able to approach them more about ADOS, but it turns out they've actually had been trying to get in touch with ADOS for quite some time. So they knew about us. We didn't know about them wanting to know about us, but they actually did. And so following that, I'm talking to them about, you know, reparations, and I see that they're open. And I said, so, hey, we should really push this relationship and see whether or not we can get them to listen to us and have our agenda become their agenda. Because it seems that's what they were going for. And it turns out that is exactly what they want. They actually want the endorsement of ADOS. So with that in mind, of course, you know, there are certain things that have to happen. And we know one of those is a number. And, but I didn't just hang out with them that moment. I also went to a couple of events later that night. And then I went down to Charlotte, and I went to a couple of events there. And I also went to dinner with he and his wife and about 20 other Black women. And what I came away with is that he is very sincere. He is authentic. He is nice person. He knows he's a white man, which is the most important. And he knows that he's a privileged white man. And he says, who am I to tell the people who have suffered this level of oppression how much the number is going to be? And to me, that makes perfect sense. I feel like the people that he has placed around the ADOS, who are not hashtag ADOS, they're still learning as well. But you know what? They are open enough to say, yes, ADOS, we want to do this together. They want our not only an endorsement from ADOS, but what they really want is for us to join forces with them on the ground where all the other chapters are. So that's what they want, is a real partnership, because Tom Steyer is a grassroots philanthropist. And so that, I would imagine, was the attraction to ADOS, because he is pro-reparations. What better way to get validation than to have a grassroots reparations movement endorse you? So as a result of this growing interaction, I've been pushing, me and a couple other ADOS have been, just took the bull by the horns and said, nobody else is moving this forward. We're going to approach this man and, see if he'll listen and see if he'll, make the distinction between us and immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. And it turns out, yes, he was. Now, is everything perfect? No, but he didn't wake up one day cookout ready. So it's a learning process. And I like him because he is a billionaire who actually took the giving pledge to give away most of his money while he's alive. The other thing I respect about him, and this is the critical point, and why I cap so hard, Kate, whatever the slang word is, so hard for Tom, is because his father was an assistant attorney on the Nuremberg trial, which is where the Nazi war criminals were tried. And then after that, guess what happened? Reparations are paid. I can't think of any instance where reparations is paid to a group without a commission, without a study. You can call it whatever you want. Commission, study, those are all political terms. And so that fact alone gives it authenticity. The fact that his father did, that's the person who raised him, who has seen the process. He's familiar with the process of acknowledging and atonement. So that to me says, oh, well, he's probably actually serious. He's taken a giving pledge. His father, he has this like literal connection to a reparations situation or case. And to me, that says he wants to be his father. He wants to follow in his father's footsteps.
That is impressive.
And so to me, that was enough to hook into to say, now I have to make sure that he's really the real deal. Because God love my ADOS family. They will roast you in a hot New York minute.
Don't I know it? Don't I know it firsthand, girl? Don't I know it firsthand?
Exactly. We love y'all, though.
We love y'all. We love y'all Black. We love y'all strong. And we will always be friends of ADOS. Always. No matter how different our opinions and our views about how to get this done. My pack is continuing. And my TV show is continuing. And you know what? I'm not for everybody. And guess what? Everybody ain't for me. So it's all good in the neighborhood. We are the friends of ADOS. The lineage. The movement don't have to have any parts of us, or those that do can mess with us and donate and do what they will. But I'm going to always love ADOS because it's who I am. And I'm always going to be a friend. We can always agree to disagree and do this work the way we're wired to do this work. No shade, no, none of that. It just is what it is. We have a difference of opinion. Right. But I thank you for that. Let me read from the comments. Roland Dunham says, "What's up, Don and nice women? What's up?" And then he asked about Marianne Williamson. He asked about immigration, pandering to Black women. Where are the Black men at? Don said, Tansy says, Don is putting in mad work. Thank you, tribe. You are doing the work of the ancestors. And Roland says, well, ditch that immigration. Sounds like he wants cheap labor. And he found that Tom's father fighting for reparations for the Jews to be a very interesting talking point as to why we might be able to believe Tom for reparations for ADOS. So this is really, really good. Let's back it up. He's asking, Roland says, another Marianne Williamson. I think the biggest distinction between him and Marianne Williamson is that he's got a lot more respect than Marianne and far more money. What are your thoughts to add to that, Dawn?
Yeah, I mean, I would say too, I was never a fan of Marianne Williamson because I did get that vibe, that kind of kooky, hippie kind of vibe, and I didn't want her to be the face of reparations. I didn't want, they were her property to be trying to get me my reparations. I just wasn't feeling it, and she didn't have a college degree, and that doesn't matter except if you're president. So, and then the $500 billion number definitely wasn't feeling that. Now, the thing that I've come to after a year being a part of the movement is that I started off and still have a certain feel. I feel a certain type of way about immigrants. I feel strongly about the racism enshrined in the immigration policy. But here we are a year later. We've lost Marianne. We've lost HR 40. And we need, a vehicle for our struggle. We need a vehicle. We need to keep this in the, keep it in the limelight. So I just think that we have to pivot away from, or not pivot away. We need to understand that people don't have to hate everybody else to love ADOS. And that's not even the type of people we are. And I just want to clarify, when I talk about immigrants or immigration, which I do quite well.
Yes, you do. We've done a show about it. We did a really great show. If you guys want to look in the archives, Dawn was my guest on that.
That wasn't a good one. But
it was to me.
I wasn't being complimentary of myself when I said that. But the thing is that when I talk about immigrants or immigration, I speak about it only for comparative purposes, for relativity. Okay, they've been here 5 minutes. We've been here 400 years. Look at what they're getting. Look at what kind of rights they have versus us. I would always talk about the impact of on the employment situation, because I live in an area where we have both. We have a lot of H-1B visa workers, and we have a lot of undocumented workers, and we have a lot of legal Hispanics. And so that is a real situation, and it's not observational or anecdotal or kind of like just gut feel. I see what I see. The facts are before me. However, that is the only reason, to try to make a stark contrast in people's minds, to show how wrong it is, the position that we are in relative to someone who may have just hopped in off the plane or hopped over the border, etc. So that being said, again, no politician is going to be the president for just one group. And we just have to put our big boy pants on and realize that, that people are not going, no candidate is going to, overtly disparage one of his constituencies. And his feelings about them don't impact what we want. We have to stay focused, stay on our square, worry about what we get, like that little meme. Worry about yourself.
Well, I hear you on that front. And Cynthia, I see you. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Cynthia, for joining the live. Thank you, Tansy, for joining the live. I hear you on that. But down here in LA, illegal immigration absolutely impacts us. We have gone from 15% in population to 6%, while Hispanics have grown to around 51%. They identify as white on the census. And so you got more dollars being aggregated and spent on the white population as a result. And then you've got African immigrants masking our failure down here. They're worth about $75,000 to our $200 liquid. So immigration is hurting us, and it puts me in a real query when it comes to who to vote for, because reparations is contingent on the number and all the other things that we're demanding under ADOS 101. And so, like Cynthia McDonald states, I'm wondering about more substantial language on this agenda. And that is true when I read through those 26 pages. It's really challenging that he'll say certain things on video, and yet when you see it in black and white, it's not adding up. For example, he wants to stop the school to prison pipeline. Well, there's two sides to this, right? Like, I recently heard Biden out him on the debates about having invested in private prisons, of which he had an awakening. So I saw that video that he sold that stock when he realized how wrong it was to be invested in private prisons. Okay, so he had an awakening, and I'm grateful for that. But you can't stop the school to prison pipeline if you don't decimate private prisons. That has got to be totally undone. And the challenge with that is the Democrats and the Republicans' palms are being greased to keep that system going. So it's a challenge because I love the reparations part, but I don't like the Democrats being such a fan of illegal immigration and getting them voting rights and trying to replace us as a voting bloc now that we've awakened. And we're not just going to be the mules of the Democratic Party. It really leaves us in a real query.
Well, I would say the difference between, from what Tom says on screen and, what we get in writing, the thing I've learned is that when you go behind the scenes, which I've never been on this side, under the rock, and they're like little companies with employees, and you have like good employees and you got bad employees. You got people who work hard and people who don't work hard, and you have different departments. And so actually, he doesn't actually sit down and write his own policies, as I'm sure people realize that. So someone else wrote that. Jeremiah Chapman, who he travels with, Tom, and that's who I've been working with. And so, we communicate back and forth. I give them stuff, like I gave them talking points for the CNN town hall, but not everything goes through. I mean, it's like it's not necessarily, well, I guess it is kind of a bureaucracy. But the thing is that he put that out is not, it's not like the end all be all. And the thing that I'm coming across, or the thing that I find interesting, is that what this really all says is we have to learn how to drive the car. And it's not about place it before me and I'll tell you if it's good or not, but I'm not going to tell you how to make it better. And we always talk about we need to get a seat at the table. Well, guess what? We're at the table. I'm here. God damn it.
That's right.
Table.
And we're very, very.
I am following the necessary goddamn ADOS program, all fucking on code and playing politics.
You can't do all those expletives. It's a family show. It's a family show. Stop dropping those bombs. Some of the younger kids watch. So, anywho, I feel you, sister.
So,
and
but a seat at the table. And so I guess what I'm saying is that I guess take it especially personally because I feel like, I'm as on code as you can be.
Right.
And then, kind of like the low key, you selling out. I'm like, how is it that we are supposedly reparations activists, and yet here's a candidate that says not only are they pro-reparations, but they're pro-cash reparations, and we want a black tab on our website. Okay, here's a black tab. Oh my God, you use the word African-American. So that was, where's the black? Oh, here's the black agenda. So obviously they're actually listening to us. So that should be the trigger for us to grow up, pull the pants up, and engage in a diplomatic back and forth. So what I ask people to do, okay, you have the issue with the Black agenda. And let me make a full disclaimer. I'm down here in South Carolina. I haven't read it yet. So there.
Absolutely.
I know it's not sufficient. I knew it wasn't. I mean, I know it's not sufficient. But what we have asked for each step along the way so that I can remain true to the mission of reparations, which rises above all this personality, is that each step along the way, we ask them for a tangible. The first tangible, when we first started talking, we want you to send us an email asking, they said we want to come to the conference. So we wanted to, whenever they contacted or got in touch with Tone or Yvette, that Tone and Yvette would be in the strongest possible position, meaning that Tone and Yvette wouldn't go to them and ask them and they give them a runaround or take forever or don't. No, I said, you ask us for an invitation. So I can show that to them and they'll know you're serious. And the point is would they do it? And they did it. The point was, are you going to start making a distinction between who built America and who came to America and built a life for themselves? So all of that has been an ongoing process. So back to the Black agenda. It's incomplete. So my thing is, we go from absolutely zero or from negative, and then now we have this opportunity here, but we are not proceeding as we should as people whose parents, Tone and Yvette, have given us the keys to drive the car, and now we're trying to give the keys back. When you come into the restaurant, an exclusive restaurant, which ADOS is in, with this candidate, we have their full attention. We are the only thing that they're dealing with. We got in there before NARC, before NAN, before all of. We told them, don't you dare dance. Do not go to a soul food restaurant without shark. Don't ever let us see you eat chicken. All of that stuff, none of that stuff. Small things, but they mean a lot to us. And what it means is that they listen. And that's the whole point that we've been going through with them all along. And so every time family says, do this, we want this, I go back to them and say, dear God, please do this for them. Try to work with you here.
Right.
Give us what we want, but understand the position that I'm in. Understand the position that the campaign is in. Appreciate the courage, the political courage of this man to come out each and every time, no matter what. So that's why the words and the man, they're not necessarily a full and complete reflection of him on paper, but that's our job. So in terms of taking the keys, let's take the keys and not confined to Twitter. So now I'm outing myself. Yes, I'm all up in the cut. Send your shit to me. Send your stuff to me.
She can't help herself.
So that we can be more effective and not look so scattered. And they don't come to me and say, Dawn, what's up with your family? Why are they tripping? We're trying to give them this, this, and that. We want to give the money out. Why are they like? And, so that's the situation I'm in. And I want to also say, I have seen internal memos. I'm not going to be Obama. I refuse. And I'm not going to let my family down. I'm here for reparations. I'm not here for anything else but to get reparation, to be solely focused on that. Well, and so I had to check them out before I could come and say anything, because I don't want to lose credibility, because I need us to work together in whatever direction we need to go.
Well, Dawn, I am such a fan of yours. And I know this for sure, that there are people who trusted me when I needed them to, because I was bringing them into a space with the pack, and they became familiar with my work. They became familiar with me. And there was just a point where they made a decision to trust the soundness of what I was doing on the strength of it being me. And that's what I hear you saying to me and to my audience, who many of them know you, that we are to trust you and really strongly consider, because you've changed my mind on this, giving our vote to Tom Steyer this primary season and put the full weight of our support behind him because of you. And I trust you, and I know you, and I love you. And I know that you have vetted this process very thoroughly. I know that you were on that ground running hard as an advocate of Tom's and as an advocate of ADOS. And so you've helped me to make a decision this primary season to give my vote to Tom Steyer. And I thank you, Vicki Lewis, too. I don't know if she's on the live, but she was talking me off a ledge this morning when I was going off on the show that I had scheduled prior to finding you. And when I found you, and we talked, it shifted the whole direction of the show, because I know what it's like to want a candidate and want us to back a candidate who's speaking full-chested about reparations and get no support from ADOS, who I have invested my time, my energy, and my resources. I don't get a cut of nobody's nothing. It comes right out of my pocket and that of my comrades to do ADOS movement work down here in SoCal. Okay, so when I couldn't get it because I'm not Yvette or I'm not Tone, that was a problem for me, that I didn't have enough street cred with the ADOS movement to get our support behind her, and then she fell out of the race. And I never dreamed that we would get yet another opportunity to support a candidate that's speaking on that debate stage about our reparations. And I know many folks are saying it's pandering. We never heard from him on reparations before. But that story you just shared about his father being instrumental in the Jews becoming repaired has just...
Instrumental.
It's like pivotal. It's a game changer, because I can see how he would want to be that president that did that for the ADOS people. And so I'm going to leap, knowing the net will appear, when I cast my vote for Tom Steyer this election cycle. And I want to encourage all of you to please read his African American plan. Whatever flaws you have, how can we get our modifications of that plan to you? I'm going to have my PAC board members help me go through this. How do we get our additions to you for you to escalate to Tom for consideration? How do we do that?
Thank you. Feel free to just send it to Facebook, DM, and Facebook or Twitter. And I just want to put out there that I do think that this is a good thing for us to do, to go through this, but I also want everybody to keep in mind we're still dealing with a politician. At the end of the day, he's still a politician, and the objective is to win. And I just say that just to say that he is not going to have on the website everybody's name listed and the date and time that they're going to get some money. So if you're expecting that kind of specificity, it's just not going to happen.
And
But
what
know
other
that.
things should we shake off a belief in order to
We
get
should shake
Tom the
off.
primary?
Yeah.
What else do we need to shake
Yeah.
off? What other myths?
The
Oh,
myths
I got
are,
one. I got one. Don't expect this man to say that we are owed reparations in the trillions and make a promise for that. It's not going to happen. It's not politically expedient to do that. That is, we're in denial if we think any candidate can come forward and say what we're truly due. We've got to stop that. That was a problem with Marianne, who said her number was negotiable and that Darity would be on her reparations council, but that 500 billion was politically palpable because she still needs the white vote to win. They're in this to win. So I'm saying let's leverage them being in it to win and stop these pie in the sky ideals when we understand this is a game of chess and not checkers. We've got to stop that. That has got to stop. Or we will never get reparations if we're waiting on them to say this full chested. Any other myths we need to shake off to put our full support behind Tom Steyer?
Okay, so what I want to talk on is about the down ballot voting.
Okay.
And what we need to distinguish here is that, in my opinion, I don't believe the vote down ballot strategy is appropriate in the primary setting with an identified pro-reparations candidate. And that is the situation that we are in currently. We have had no other presidential prospect, and the plan, the strategy was to vote down ballot, all well and good. But now Tom Steyer entered the race in July, and I think he made his debut on October. And as activists, as reparations activists, I feel it is our responsibility to vet them thoroughly, which is what I've been doing, because as we all know, Black people, the boomers, those who aren't in the movement, we'd be hard pressed to try to convince them not to vote. So in the event that there's a suitable candidate, then we should, in fact, support him. But I also want to point out the importance that we can vote for Tom Steyer in the primary with a clean conscience. Because what I really am all about, and why I'm down here in South Carolina right now, is something that occurred to me in February when I first stumbled across ADOS in a YouTube chat chain. Is that we cannot have Joe Biden, the architect of mass incarceration, be defeated by a candidate who is pro-Black, pro-cash reparations, being defeated in one of the largest ex-slave states. So I want everybody, in South Carolina and all of us to think about how we're going to feel March 1st when we look at those headlines, and if it were to say, Prime Bill Joe beat pro-cash reparations Tom Steyer in South Carolina primary. So where does that leave us? So what that signals to the world, hey, you can't be a pro-Black, pro-reparations candidate because Black people won't even vote for you.
You've got a very valid point.
So people would say, we want a number, we want an agenda, we want to do this, guess what? He gave all of that to us. No, it's not perfect, but check this out. So he wins, and I pray to God he does win at least the Black vote here, but he's supposedly doing well. If he wins, family, then we truly have leverage, because he can say to the world, I won in South Carolina, the Black people will support me. He can also say to whoever, I might be a good vice president. I don't know. But the point is, this battle is ours. This is an ADOS ballot, the primaries, and that's how we should see it. This is our battle. Tom Steyer is a vested provided to us by the ancestors and God. He is our vehicle. We have a billionaire who can propel this reparations conversation long beyond the election, which is what he says he'll do, whether he wins or not. I mean, this is someone who we have to recognize that is a potential ally, and we have to, at the same time we criticize and pressure him, we also have to support him and mold him and work with him. So once let's say he wins the primary, then our leverage increases exponentially. And then we get down and we say, okay, you won South Carolina, or probably would be South Carolina. Here's the edits to the Black agenda. Please make these updates. The elections are coming. And that's how it goes. Each step. We get more, they give a little more, we give a little. That's how it's going to work. All the way up until, if praise God, he is elected. He will have his commission or vote to or whatever, write an executive order the day one. And we already have a whole team, and he knows that. And that's why I introduced him to Dr. Darity. He knows Dr. Darity is there in the wings. His team knows about it. I said, Dr. Darity is fired up, ready to go, plug and play. When you ready, he ready, and that's your commission. Ain't gonna be nobody else.
I just love
it's not
you.
Gonna be anybody else. And let me tell you another story. The ultimate sacrifice, as Martin Luther King said, before reparations had to be paid, on the morning that I went to meet Tom Steyer the first time, and Dr. Darity came to this meeting. I was getting ready that morning. Got in the shower. Like, oh, I got to get my shampoo. I got the special shampoo. I run in the kitchen. Slip fall, bust my head open. And I mean, blood pouring down. Got up. I said, not today, Satan. Not today. And I was at that meeting on time, and in fact, I think it was a little early. So I say that to say all of this has not been for nothing. I wouldn't let it be.
Well, Dawn, we're at 42 minutes, and I can't thank you enough. You've got me as one of you have sold me on being one of the biggest advocates for Tom Steyer leading up into the primary. And I am going to be going hard in the paint everywhere as having endorsed him. And I'm going to speak with my PAC, Friends of ADOS PAC, to do the same, to watch this show and to be sold on the vote for Tom Steyer, to get that momentum behind the vote for Tom during the primary. And I'm just going to be pushing it as if I was on the ground running with you. I want to thank you. I've got my other guest, Ted Hayes, in the lobby waiting to be brought up to speak a little bit about the 14th Amendment and our 1866 Civil Rights Law, wherein our reparations have already been assigned. And he's got another approach to getting it, and he's going to share with the audience about that. So with that said, I thank you, sis. This was a beautiful exchange. I pray that my audience gets a lot out of it. I want you guys to like this video and share it with everyone you know. If you have been committed in your spirit to help Tom Steyer win this primary season, well, at least win South Carolina. Let's get him the win in South Carolina so we can send a startling message to the Democratic Party, who will clearly know.
Angela.
Yes.
Angela, can I ask you a favor?
Yes.
If anyone out there can come down to Charleston or can contact me via DM or Facebook or whatever, and has the ability to come down for whatever amount of time between now and Saturday, please come.
Okay.
And we will, I got to work for you. Can't do it alone.
Okay, so she needs all hands on deck in South Carolina. Reach out to Dawn Page, Paige, so that you can help.
At
also,
Carrie Redbone.
I'm sorry?
At Carrie Redbone on Twitter.
Oh, wait. And Crooked Cops, we have to give him credit for keeping reparation and debate discussion. Thank you, Elise Love, for being on the live. Game changer. The needle is moving. Reggie Green, thank you for being on the live. Tom the man, he gets my vote. Hell yes. 500 billion.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got some love up in here. Terry Lewis, Buenos Dias and lovely hump day, my love. Hey, hey, hey. Every time you say that, Terry, I think of Fat Albert, whom I love. I grew up on Fat Albert. Okay, I know I'm telling my age, but well, I'm a proud.
Angela.
Thank you, my love. Let me ask you this. Can we do phone banking for Tom? I would love to phone bank.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, could you please send that over to me at ajones@friendsofADOS.com. Get that over to me. Give me my list and I'll make calls. I will text you that information, okay? Or you can send it in Angela Nirvana in my Facebook, but I will be burning the phones for Tom. And if you agree and want to help him win South Carolina, hit up Dawn Page in Facebook DM, Paige, and ask for a call list and a script and burn the phones. I mean, that's what we can do when we're abroad, is to help him win by phone. So, Dawn, I'll be in touch. I thank you, my love. And you make it a blessed, phenomenal rest of your evening. And we're on it now. You got us all the way together, at least me. Let me speak for myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, my love. Peace and love.
All right.
Mwah. Mwah.
All right.
Bye. And now, family, I'm going to bring up Ted. Hi, Ted. I'm excited and fired up. I wish we were able to get you in earlier. We just had Dawn Page, who is supporter and self-appointed advisor to Tom Steyer, as part of the African American outreach team. She's boots on the ground, part of the ADOS family, and she had so much to share. I think one of the biggest nuggets I took away was that his father, Tom's father, was instrumental in the Jews getting reparations. And so she really believes strongly in him, and I believe strongly in her. And so I'm sold on giving Tom the vote, because as she mentioned, if we don't support the only candidate that is speaking on reparations, then none of the other candidates, they'll all use it as an excuse. If we don't win him South Carolina, they'll use it as an excuse to never offer reparations again, because they will come to realize that they can't win with the Black vote when they're speaking full-chested about our reparations. We had Marianne Williamson. We lost her. I never dreamed in one election cycle we'd get a billionaire speaking full-chested about our reparations, who descends from a parent who actually helped the Jews get their repair. So I have changed my mind and my heart about it. She has asked that we go through the African American plan and make our edits and send them to her at Dawn Page, Paige, in the Facebook Instant Messenger, or find her on Twitter. And she will escalate those modifications to Tom after she's had a chance to compile them for his team for consideration. So it was a powerful 40 minutes with Dawn, and I saw people in the chat concur. If for no other reason, we need to send a message to both parties that give him the win for South Carolina, give him that Black vote, help phone bank, do everything we can for the one and only candidate that is speaking full-chested about our reparations, or run the risk of not having any more candidates touch it, because they will realize we can't win with the Black vote if the Blacks don't even support it, support the candidate who supports it. What are your thoughts?
Great. That's wonderful. I'm not political. I've done my time in political jail as far as electoral politics. I ran for mayor of LA '93. I've ran for city council. I've run for Congress as Maxine Waters, and I'm done. But it's good to see young black men and women excited about electoral politics, and the more of y'all can get involved, the better. Um, when it comes to reparations, what I've been
Yes.
teaching, what I've been teaching is we already have our reparations papers. It's there. It's called the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the 14th Amendment, which is our national citizenship. It's a super citizenship that's in the federal government. We are not state citizens, we are federal citizens. So we supersede all other citizenships in that sense. And we just haven't been aware of it. One of the things that we can do, I know we talked about this before in the show, but being with limited time, let me get to this point. I watched the debates last night a little bit, and I noticed how they were, all these white folks was pandering to the black population in South Carolina. And as we've always known, particularly with Democrats, they come around us when it's time to get our vote, and they know that we generally vote 95, 90%, 95% blindly for the Democrats party. And of course, the Republicans, they don't bother messing with us because they feel that we're a lost cause anyway. So I listened to them pandering last night, and I bet you if you ask everyone on stage, do you believe black people, the descendants of chattel slaves, should receive some sort of reparations, whatever we define that to be? They'll all say, yeah, we agree. At the same time, you ask them, how many of y'all agree with illegal immigration? They'll all raise their hands, including Tom Steyer. Then the question is, how in the world can you be giving reparations to foreigners who invaded our country illegally, came in our country, and in the name of our civil rights, name of our birth certificate, how can you support them and support us at the same time? Particularly when the law of civil rights is not for them, it is for us, black U.S. citizens, because it's on our back that the nation of immigrants is built. So therefore, the nation owes us that reparation, that repairing, that recovery. So way we can get these folks, I've been working on this because I'm working on an event on Capitol Hill called Cashing the Promissory Note expose conference on the merits of the Civil Rights Act of 1866 and 14th Amendment. And I'm going after Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party, as well as all Republicans. And we're putting together a draft statement from Congressman Steve King. And the statement pretty much outlines the fact that, yes, all of this does belong to us. Now, when I go to lobby to the Democrats, Republicans, including Nancy Pelosi, I'm going to put it before all of them, including the Hispanic Latino caucus. I'm going to say to them, do you concur with this resolution that the 14th Amendment Civil Rights Act of 1866 is the citizenship of black folks and only black folks? Those, by putting forth this document, it will make them go on record that they either agree with this, that it is ours, or they disagree. Now, the Congressional Black Caucus is supposed to be representing us, but they have constantly voted lockstep with the Hispanic Latino Caucus for what they call comprehensive immigration reform. Well, comprehensive immigration reform is simply code for amnesty, code for taking the civil rights super citizenship of black folks and giving it to foreigners who invaded the country. So when we put this forward to them, what I'm hoping will happen, the strategy is when the word gets out to black folks across this country that this is our law, and that the CBC congressional members refuse to sign it or anybody else, that will then wake up our people to say, you know what, we're done with the CBC. If they can't acknowledge our own national citizenship, what good are they? So if we want Tom Steyer, for example, or President Trump to deal with us on the issue of reparations, which I consider reparations as just one of the issues that our law deals with. It's just one. It's a big one, but it is one of them. When most of us understand, have embraced this law, then we have a natural body politic. Remember, the Constitution of the United States begins with something called the preamble. And the preamble starts off with white, black, doesn't matter who it is. It says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, etc. It doesn't say the president. It doesn't say Congress members. It doesn't say individuals. It says a collective body of people have the authority to make things right in this country. If y'all will go and study the Declaration of Independence, that's the first law of this United States Union Republic. And in that law, that first law, it says that they who govern us govern by our consent. By our consent. They only do what we tell them to do. Unfortunately, what has happened is over the centuries, we have been caught up, black and white alike. We have been caught up in the 2, 4, 6 cycle of voting. And as soon as you put a person in Congress or the Senate or president, they are campaigning again to be reelected. We, the voters and the people, don't have a chance to even digest what we just did. These people are already running for the second term. And so we think the only way to control the government, people in the government, is every 2, 4, 6 years. I believe that's a trap. That's my opinion. It's a trap. Because we spend all our time campaigning for people and we put them in office, and what they do? The same old, same old. Well, I've discovered something, especially for us federal super citizens. Did you know that if a elected official refuses to obey our bidding, did you know that we can have that person arrested? We don't have to wait to recall them or vote somebody else in. If we are united, we can actually cite the crime and we can have that person or persons arrested and put in jail. That's the power we have. Out here where I'm staying in kind of incognito in West LA, the Democrat liberals out here and the libertarians, they just sent a letter in to the White House on my behalf about this whole issue. And I'm explaining to them, because they're very upset with the mayor, Eric Garcetti, who's my friend, and Mike Bonin, who was the city council for the area. And they're calling these elected officials idiots. And I'm saying, wait a minute, how are you going to call these people idiots when you have not provided an answer yourself? According to the law, we, the people, are supposed to identify our problem and not diagnose it. Then we're to come up with an answer for it, take it to the government servant. And you tell the government servant, this is what we want. This is when we want it, how we want it, and where we want it. And if they don't comply, then we can have them arrested. We continue to think that politicians are smarter than us. In some areas, maybe they are. But collectively, we have the power. And as black people, black citizens, we have an immense power that nobody else in this country has. We can actually tell the president of the United States what he can and cannot and should not be doing on our behalf. We've never exercised it. And that's what I'm trying to bring to us, a quicker way of dealing. All we've got to do is unite. Now, people say, well, black folks ain't going to unite. But you know how black folks ain't going to unite. Not true. Every black citizen in this country, whether they're on death row in prison or on the front row of a pew or in the pulpit or homeless on the streets or living in Brentwood, Beverly Hills, whether light skin, dark skin, whatever the shade of color is, whatever their religion is, whatever their political persuasion, Democrat, Independent, Republican, it's irrelevant. Because if you believe that you are a United States citizen, as a black person, descendant of the chattel slaves, if you believe that, that is automatic unity. They say there's 40 million of us in this country? 40 million. Can you imagine if 40 million of us wake up and realize that this is we have an automatic unity. So when we call for reparations or whatever we want done, they have to do it. You understand what I'm saying? Are you with me?
Yes. I'm listening very intently.
Here's the challenge to us, though. Here's the challenge. If the man, now I sent you a document, Angela, and I sent one to same thing to Arthur out in Chicago. Arthur out
Arthur
of Chicago.
Ward.
Arthur
Yeah.
Ward. Excuse me. Arthur Ward out of Chicago. And several years ago, I devised a outlook for reparations. I want you to know I did not learn reparations from people like Cobra or other scholars. I learned my reparations from the Bible, from the Hebrew scriptures. That's where I got it from. It runs from Genesis to the book of Revelation. You just got to know how to look for it. It's sitting right there in front of us and we don't even see it. It's hidden. It's hidden in plain sight. And I learned it from there. So I began to research all of this and I came up with some documents. Now, one of the things I point out in that, let's say Mr. Trump, Mr. Steyer, all the corporations, they all break down. They say, okay, you're right. We've given reparations to Jews. We've helped them. And we didn't even, the Holocaust didn't happen in America. It happened in Europe. That's really not our issue, to be honest with you. And I consider myself a Jew. That's really not our issue. That's their issue. They apologized to Japanese and gave each, I think, $20,000, which I think was a ripoff, frankly. They apologized to the Indians and give them reparations. What if they decide, all right, we're going to do it? They're going to ask the question, who do we negotiate with? That's a big question. Do we go with Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton? Do we go with Louis Farrakhan? Do we go with Cobra? Do we go with organization from ADOS? Who are they going to negotiate with? Secondly, if we do finally ever create a negotiating team, what are we going to negotiate for? What is it that we want? Do we want 40 acres and a mule? Do we want $20 trillion distributed amongst us? Do we want free education, no taxes for a period of time? What do we want? That's a fight within itself. You get 100 black folks in a room and you say to them, how many of y'all believe in reparations? They'll raise their hands. Everybody will raise their hands and take each one of them alone in a private room and ask them, define to me what you believe reparations is. What would you like? You're going to get 100 different answers. How do we address that? But let's say we finally come to an agreement that reparations is A, B, C, and D. Hey, save some of that for me.
He's awkward, Dad. I had to get my sugar.
Hey, I get sugar next, okay? So when I see you, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
For everybody.
Everybody, a little bit of love.
I got an answer for that, Ted. I got an answer.
Okay, I want to hear it. And
right now, we've got ADOS101.com that outlines everything we're expecting in addition to cash. Okay. And we're talking trillions over multi-generations.
Right.
But we've got lineage therapy in there. We've got education in there. We've got protection from police brutality in there.
Right.
It's if you need information about what the demands are, the ADOS movement is ready. ADOS101.com to everyone listening. Go ahead, sir.
And that's great. That's a wonderful beginning. That's a good thing. I'm sure there's other groups across the country who have theirs as well. And it goes back now. Who will negotiate that? Who's going to sit at the table and negotiate that? And how do we decide that? But let's move down.
Can I share? Because Dawn Page, who was just our guest, who is down there working for Tom Steyer, both him and Marianne Williamson, who are the only two candidates that have ever spoken full-chested about our reparations, said that Dr. William Sandy Darity will be on their reparations council, and he is the lead economist, Duke professor, and a friend of ADOS. He helps support the data in this movement, and we are fully in support of his work. So they've already said that he's going to be at the table. So in effect, when he's at the table, the ADOS movement and all its other little subsidiaries, if you will, we're at the table. Okay, so go
Okay.
ahead with your question.
Okay. And then once you're at the table, and whatever is decided that's going to be reparations, who's going to sign the document before the United Nations, the world courts, and everybody's saying 100 years from now, will 100 years from now, what's going to guarantee that 100 years from now, your descendants are going to not going to holler to us again reparations? Will this end the conversation? Will this end the racial animus? Will that put an end to it? Who's going to sign that document?
Well, let me share with you. It's been going on forever for the Jews. Why should it ever stop for us?
I didn't say that. One thing about the Jewish peoples, and the Japanese peoples is they have an organized body politic. We have no such thing. We have no representation at all. We're helter-skelter. We're everywhere. That's our problem. I believe the man wants to pay his bill. I believe he does. He doesn't know who to talk to. He doesn't know is it going to be administered properly so that one day y'all won't jump up and say, hey, where my reparations at? These are some very serious things we have to talk about. And I would like to someday sit down with Mr. Steyer and talk to him about this, because I don't think he knows what he's talking about. I think he did great with the Jews because they are a collective body politic. We are different. That was a 6-year period, a short period of time in history that just happened to them. It can be easily calculated. We're talking 245 years of chattel slavery and another 100 years of Jim Crowism and another 55 years of failed government social policies that's got our young brothers running around here with their pants hanging out off their butts and homeless people all over the streets of America.
You're right. And so that's why I always say that the reparations is not just for slavery and Jim Crow, but for accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. So what I'm saying to you is that 2 candidates, don't get it twisted, the ADOS movement is the reason why reparations is on the Democratic platform. We have upstaged every other conversation. They have been forced to deal with it because of the ADOS movement, because of each of us in our respective chapters putting in our time, our energy, and our resources to give us a seat at the table. It's a national and world stage is watching because of us. We will be at the table. We've got Yvette and Antonio Moore. God bless y'all. They have been teaching us Black politics in social media. And finally, about a year ago, when Kamala announced her run for presidency, and Yvette and Tone came with that data and that smoke and that fire about how non-ADOS she really was as a prosecutor here in California. Okay, that gave us a national and an international presence. And so, yeah, we are the ones that they're talking to. Tom Steyer is with Dawn Page, who is from the ADOS movement down in South Carolina. Well, she's ADOS North Carolina, and she's doing other things, but she is now in South Carolina. And Tom, she managed to get into that that sphere, that circle of influence, and she's got Tom's undivided attention where NARC is out, Cobra is out, FBA is out, B1 is out. She has got their attention for the ADOS movement. And what we need to do is to be in full support of her efforts instead of nitpicking over the fact that because of politics, that he does have to play. He's got to represent all the groups. He can't just get up there and say they are old in the trillions, even though he know it to be true. He and Dawn and Dr. Darity have been to dinner a couple of times around this very issue. So ADOS movement is going to be at that table to talk about who gets it, how to dispense it. They're going to be the one to frame all of that with a Tom Steyer. And okay, I don't know if Tom can win the primary because about all we can deliver is South Carolina for him. I don't know that we can get all the other, I mean, Bernie is already out front, but what it will do when we get him the victory in South Carolina is send a strong message to the Democratic Party, whom we've been the mules of for 60 years. You put reparations in your mouth all the way through into the general, or risk a show up, vote Democratic, not even a show up, vote Democratic down ballot, show up and vote down ballot, meaning put in ADOS for the president and go through your ballots and your measures and your referendums and decide how you're going to vote on those and put in ADOS for that president. So that is how we leverage this moment in time.
Okay.
And we all need to get on board, all of us as ADOS. If you bleed ADOS, you need to support this candidate, because white folks are quick to use it as an excuse moving forward. Well, Tom put his money on y'all, and y'all couldn't even show up for him and get on the same page because you're so particular. The man didn't say $50 trillion, and so you're not going to support him. It's the same thing we did to Marianne Williamson, because she gave us $500 billion, not the trillions, although she kept saying it was negotiable, although she said Dr. William Sandy Darity would be on her reparations council. Now, we need to get over ourselves and stop this mythology that we tell ourselves that a white man in these United States can, in addition to speak from the chest for reparations, say it should be in the trillions. That is utterly ridiculous, and it's never going to happen. So we've got to grow up, like Dawn said, put on our big girl pants, our big boy pants, and sit down. Now, if you want a meeting with Tom, to have a voice with Tom, I can work on getting you that kind of access, because me and Dawn are sisters. So I can get you that meeting, Ted, as one of our elders whom we love. I can work on that.
That's good.
Okay?
That's good.
But I can work on you having a conference call with Tom so you can check it. But what I know is this: you've got to trust something, because having candidates speak full-chested about reparations too in one election cycle is nothing but a gift from God, and we need to cut it out and get on board. And so if you're with me, vote Tom Steyer this primary season. Let's leverage what he's doing for us to make whomever the establishment candidate will be, to put reparations in their mouth all the way through into the general, or else. Ted, I'll let you have the last words, because I've got to get ready to go and be the MC for Tara Perry, who's running for City Council District 8 down here in LA. Go to our website and support, okay? You can find her at Tara Perry for City. Oh, let me get
8th District.
I got to Tara Perry, the number 4. Oh, let me look it up while you say your last words, Ted.
I just want to say in closing, whatever we do, we need to really get to know our super citizenship power in the United States of America. That is what will break the whole situation with us. Most of us have no idea what that is. And the people who know that law, they know that we don't know. And therefore they'll leave us in the darkness. So that's my objective, to ensure that every Black citizen knows about this law, so that we can actually negotiate what we want in this country. So go to the 14th, the number 14th.us, the 14th.us. And there you see all my teachings.
The 14th US.
The 14th, the THE, number 1, number 4, TH.US, the 14th.US. You go there, you see my videos, you see my teaching. You can also go to on YouTube, and you'll see it there as well. Go to ADOS/ADOCS, ADOCS, the 14th Amendment Promissory Note. And there I have videos and teachings in like 5 to 10 minute segments of what this is. Empower yourselves with this law. Empower yourselves, okay?
I'm typing it, so let me get it again. YouTube, ADOCS for chattel, ADOCS slash the 14th, what?
Amendment.
Hold on. Uh-huh. Go ahead.
Promissory note. Promissory note.
Hold on. Promissory. Oh. Okay.
And you will learn how powerful we are. As we can use it individually, of course, but we are more powerful as a collective body. And if we could begin to get people to understand that there's 40 million of us, even half that number, we can get almost practically anything we want. And it would also help us to transcend our differences with each other and our distrust of one another and our hating and fighting with one another, because we'll find that we are a nation within the nation. When we were in Africa, we were at war with each other, and we put each other on them slave ships and sold ourselves out. Now we're over here in this nation, and this nation took advantage of us, but at the same time, they recognized their mistake and they want to fix it. That's why in 1866, they gave us this super citizenship law that no other ethno-racial group in the country has but us. They don't have what we have. It was so powerful, folks, that when Andrew Johnson, who took over for Abraham Lincoln when he was assassinated, Andrew Johnson is the first president to get impeached, and he got impeached over this issue. And when he looked at the bill and he saw in the 10 sections of the Civil Rights Act of 1866 the kind of power and authority that it put into our lives, he vetoed it. And the question was, why did you veto it? He said, among other things, the primary reason why he vetoed it was because it gave too much power to black citizens, the new black citizens, over the white citizens, and he just could not tolerate that. And he was clear about that, and that's why you need to look at this and read it. In 1866, now also remember this, the reason why we have not used it over these decades and hundreds of years is because when they gave it to us, we did not know how to read. 99% of us did not know how to read, so we could not comprehend the power that we have. Now we can read. And now my job is to make sure that I put this before you and you do with it as you please.
Well, we're going to be leveraging all of it, right? The vote,
absolutely,
and our 13th Amendment and our 1866. So we're going to come at this at every angle until they cut the check and all the other little goodies that are inherent in ADOS101.com. I highly recommend everyone get familiar with that so that they will know how extensive the reparations truly run for the ADOS. Tara Perry's information, I'm typing it now, is Tara Perry for spelled out, citycouncil.org /contribute. And then you can Cash App donations to TP, the number 4, the letter CD8. All this will be in the chat. I'm typing it now. TP4 CD8. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. Oh, it's hard to see it once you put it up there. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I lost the top half of it. But hold on, Ted. Just bear with me. Tara.
That's okay. Take your time. Take your time. Folks, it took me.
Anything else you want to share while I type this again?
Sure. Folks, I've always considered myself most of my life as a civil rights activist. I'm 69 in a month and a half now. And,
Wow.
And I thought I was a civil rights activist. No, I really wasn't, because I was talking for black people, poor people, homeless people, the environment, what activism does. I thought I was a civil rights activist. I didn't realize that I was not a civil rights activist until 2005, when a brother, former Marine, black fellow, approached me. He asked me about the 14th Amendment. I knew that was my citizenship. I knew that from school. But he said, do you know much about the Civil Rights Act of 1866? I didn't know what that was. So I went and I studied. It took me 4 months to study what it was, and I figured out what it is now. And now I am an actual civil rights activist. Jesse Jackson is not a civil rights activist. Nor is Al Sharpton. Most people, I would say 99% of the people, black folks who are calling themselves civil rights activists, are not. because they don't know what it is. You cannot be a civil rights activist if you don't know the basic fundamental principles of what the Civil Rights Act really is all about. And that's part of our confusion as a people. We never really understood civil rights. And in fact, the civil rights legacy does not belong to us. We didn't create the civil rights movement. White people did that. Republicans did that. And abolitionists did that. We are the beneficiaries. I call us the subject beneficiaries of the civil rights legacy of the civil rights law. And basically, civil rights means it's not for white people to get what we have. They can get all of what they need in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. Civil rights essentially is telling white people, white citizens, that they must treat black citizens civilly. Let me say it again. Civil rights is white people being ordered to treat black people civilly. Civil rights. That's what this whole thing is about, folks. And if you don't understand that, it's going to be very difficult to fight your fights. In other words, we've been fighting a war, battles, throwing spitball sticks and stones, and we wonder why I'm not getting anywhere, because we don't have a weapon. And I want to introduce you to our AK 14th Amendment weapon so that we can back them up. All right.
I love it, Ted, and I love you, Black. I love you, strong. Fam, ADOS. You know I love you, Black. I love you, strong. And with that said, I'm going to close us out with the prayer of protection that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever ADOS and its allies are, God is. And until Saturday, when my guest will be Shirley Huzar, who's going to talk with us about the Freedmen's Bureau Bank, you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening and work week. Mwah! Good night, family. Thank you, Ted. I'll be calling you.
I love y'all, ADOS.
We love you, Black. We love you, strong. You are one of us. Mwah!
Good night, y'all.
Good night.